How was your life before the stroke?
I was very, very busy. I was always rushing here, rushing there. Like really, really busy.
So what happened after?
Well, I only had a mild stroke, and after that, the anxiety. I suffered terrible with anxiety, and that was a big shock to me. Suddenly not being able to go on a bus. And I was on a buses every day, and then I couldn't go on a bus. But with everybody's help, I've mastered that. So, I put my phone on with my music. That was my safe line. Well, I just lost all my confidence. I didn't want to go out. I mean, I found it hard to go out. I have to talk to myself in the mirror to go and open the front door. You can do it. Silly things now when you're talking about it, but when it's happening to you at the time, it's very, very scary.
At first I was very, very nervous about making any journey on my own. But also once you've done it once, you can do it again. That's the way I think about it. So you've got to do as much as you can and keep doing it.
Yeah. I mean, that was very hard for me to get on a bus. I mean, sometimes it took me 2 buses to get there because I used to get so worked up and I think everybody's looking at me. And then you can't breathe and everything closes in. Yeah.
You can't think clearly, can you?
But I'm learning now to cope better with it.
And you want to do that?
I want to do it with all my heart, yeah.
I'd always been, in my family, I'd always been the coper. I'd always been the one everybody came to for help. And suddenly I couldn't cope with that role. And I got to the point where I didn't want to answer the phone, I wasn't opening my mail, didn't want to speak to people, which I knew it wasn't good, but I didn't know what else to do. I went into Sainsbury's and I got in there and suddenly it was too much for me and there was too many people and I know the store well, and then suddenly I couldn't work out where anything was, what I wanted, and it was a panic attack, and I'd never had a panic attack before. And as long as I had the trolley or something to hold on to, I was able to start going back into the supermarket myself.
See, now I can't plan things because I don't know what I'm going to be like tomorrow. Tomorrow I might not want to go out the door. I can't go out the door. So that bit I'm finding still a bit hard.
Yeah. If I know I'm going to something, I can get my head around it and cope with it. But if somebody springs something on me and says, oh, come on, we're going here, I can't cope with that.
Oh, I see, I'm the other way that way. Again, I just think too much into the thing what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, well, but have you lost any friends after what's happened?
I have, but I think that is my doing, because I distanced myself, because I was more, I lost my confidence, and when you feel awkward in a company, that's how I was feeling.
And you feel like everyone's looking at you.
Oh yes.
I've always been patient with people, but even on my worst days, I'll crack.
What do you mean by crack?
Losing my temper, but it's just shouting. I don't mean to do it, it's just that I can't get over the frustration. Yes.
You're angry, you can feel it build up inside you. Sometimes I can calm myself down enough to stop me from getting angry, but then sometimes it just blows up like a volcano going off.
Yeah.
But fortunately it doesn't happen quite so much now as it used to do.
Yeah, I'm learning to cope with it and deal with it and things, but it doesn't stop you getting these emotions and these feelings, does it?
There's all the all controls, isn't it?
Is there something specific that will trigger that off for you?
Just things that annoy me. I had this problem with my wife with the clumpy shoes. Because she just didn't understand the effect it was having on me and how angry I was. It was building up inside me all the time. The more this noise went on, the more it annoyed me. That is totally irrational. Doesn't make sense. And I was really badly affected by noise, particularly noise that was behind me. If you're in a restaurant, I couldn't sit in the middle of a restaurant because the noise behind me was just too much to take in. Also light, I couldn't stand bright lights.
How did it make you feel in the noise and the bright lights?
Like claustrophobic, like as if you've been so hemmed in. It just got really, really and also angry. You just wanted to get away from it.
You've got to escape.
Yeah, we have to plan things in advance. If we ever go to a restaurant, we always sit on my back to a wall, so there's no noise behind me, because it's the noise behind me that really upsets me. Or similar with a theatre, we always look for tickets where they're on the end of the aisle, and if I need to get out, I can get out. So I think planning is important to stop these things from happening.
How do you cope with the anger? And
I've just got to stop myself getting so tired. So that's one of the reasons why I know it's important that I take it gently rather than trying to get everything done. You know, it doesn't make me so irritable, which doesn't make me less. It makes it easier to manage. My frustration and anger is mainly caused by fatigue.
And it's frustration and anger at yourself, really,
Yes,
not at anybody
not
else.
anyone else, but it's
Yeah. But when I had the last stroke, I suppose, the depression and stuff didn't kick in till about 5 months later, because everyone was telling me that in the hospital, because I was only in for a day, and they say, no, this time next year you won't even know you've had a stroke. So I was surprised then, when about 5 months later I started getting really down and really depressed.
Yeah.
I do feel a great deal of loss. All the things I used to do, I certainly can't do.
Okay. So you've had to give up work, have you?
I've had to give up work, I've had to give up driving, and most of my pastimes I've had to give up, but find other things to occupy the mind and try to pull myself further forward. It's very difficult. You know, I have good days and I have bad days, and on the bad days, they are really bad.
Are they?
Yes, and
Well, what kind of things happen on a bad day then?
it's just a feeling that your life has ended, and the feeling of doom. Nothing or anything can sort of bring you out of it. You just
Really?
feel low, and you know, it's very, very hard to sort of bring yourself back up again. You know, I've had it so many times now. I know that give myself enough time to let it reach its peak, and then it'll start to subside.
Okay, so you see a
Which-
cycle and you just need to
Yeah.
rest your way through it or something.
Yeah, and and it is not very nice.
No.
Because it does take a time, and it doesn't matter what anybody tells you, or whether they're very, very nice to you or, you know, horrible to you. It just takes that time to come through. It's almost like a wave, but it's a very, very long wave. And I normally find it's a good few hours. It may not be all day,
All right,
but it
yeah.
can be all day. But
Okay.
when it happens, you know, it just drags you right down, and you know, whatever you want to do, you
Just can't.
you just can't. No,
Mm.
just you want to sit there and be quiet. Otherwise, you tend to, you know, want to shout at people and, you know, sort of leave me alone.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the hardest feeling.
Yeah. But certainly in the first year, there were moments where, you know, where I wasn't feeling great. There was nothing that anybody could do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I got totally depressed, but I got fearful,
Yeah.
worried, a little
Yeah.
bit, feeling vulnerable. And then my wife, you know, we're both worrying, and I'm not sure how much to say. You know, I'm a bit worried about something. Do I keep it to myself? Do I go and see the doctor? So she's continually saying, "Are you all right? You know, do you need to do something? Do you need to take more time off work?" Or
When you come down, you've got to just ride it through.
yeah,
You know that there will be an end to it. You just can't see it.
Got good days and bad days. One thing with the hospital though, they kept talking about how I'd be better in a year's time, and that was something I was really aiming for. I'd be
Yeah.
back to normal.
Me too.
But after about 6 months, I realised I was not going to be better in a year's time. But when it did get to a year's time, what got really bad then was the depression kicked in, and I just burst into tears over the most stupid things. And for example, one time I was parking the car, I wasn't quite between the white lines, got out of the car, and I was in the street bawling my eyes out like a baby.